What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving with you and your family. I had a great day. It was nice to kind of just settle down and have a fun, relaxing day. But we are back today on Black Friday to preview the 4-7 Falcons, who are 26th in points for, tied with the New York Jets, actually. 14th in points against. They come to town to take on the 2-9 Jets, who, as I said, are also 26th in points for and 26th in points against. Now, looking at this game, we're going into it where you thought, at least a few weeks ago, you'd be playing second-year quarterback Michael Penix. Well, he is injured, so it's the two unks at quarterback, Tyrod Taylor and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins started against New Orleans last week, his first start of the season, and he was honestly pretty efficient. 16 of 23, a 69.6 completion percentage, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick for a 107 rating. He played pretty well in that game. Granted, it was against the New Orleans Saints, who've really been struggling. It was in a dome, too. More on that in a little bit. And, again, you can't take anything away from him. He played pretty well in the game and snapped a 5-game losing streak for the Falcons, but I'm just kind of curious to see if that continues this week against the Jets. The Falcons will be without Drake London for this game, which is, I think, a really big for the New York Jets. That's their best wide receiver by far. He is a really good red zone threat with his size. They kind of just toss it up to him and he goes up and make plays on the football, but they still have Bijan Robinson, and I think that's what I would expect to see from the Falcons, a heavy dose of Bijan in both the rushing and the passing game. He's one of the league's best backs. He's averaging a career high 5 yards per carry and an additional 543 receiving yards heading into week 13. Pretty impressive stuff. Again, one of the best dual threat backs in the NFL. This is a huge test for the Jets linebacker room in particular, going sideline to sideline, a position group that has struggled for the New York Jets. We'll see if Quincy Williams and Jamien Sherwood have bounce back games and are able to contain Bijan in this one. You also have an angle of Jeff Ulbrich revenge. He is the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. He was the Jets DC before he was made the interim head coach last year. And when you look at the Atlanta Falcons defense, they came out of the gate really hot and were playing really good football, but they've struggled over the last little bit. They've given up 30 points or more in 3 of their last 5 games. They're 1-5 in their last 6 games, in large part to the defense struggling and giving up not only a ton of points, but a ton of yards as well. Bryce Young put up a big game against them a couple weeks ago. They've done that a few times this year where they've had, again, earlier in the year, they can get after the quarterback. They have the pass rush to do that, which is, again, not surprising for a Jeff Ulbrich defense. But I think the Jets' plan for this game would be to use Breece Hall and run right at him. I think that's the weak point of their defense. So just continue to chip away and just don't ask Tyrod Taylor to do all that much. All right, it's time for my sleeper picks and stat predictions. We start with the sleeper picks. John Mechie, more than 39.5 receiving yards. He's been the focal point of the passing offense. I think he goes over that number. Breece Hall, I think, goes over the receptions number. His is 2.5. So I'm going to say Breece Hall has 3 or 4 catches in this game. And I'm picking Bijan Robinson to have more than 113.5 rushing and receiving yards. I think he's just, he's going to be a rusher in this game. I'd imagine has upwards of, I'm going to say 18, somewhere around 18 to 20 carries in this game. And then receiving wise, would not shock me without Drake London if he's catching 4 or 5 passes in this game too. I think he could have a big day for the Atlanta Falcons on offense. So use promo code O'Leary and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. New offer, free $20 no deposit required promo. Terms and conditions apply. Some other stat predictions. I'll give you my prediction for Tyrod's stat line, thinking something like 19 of 31, 61.3 completion percentage, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, 93.4 rating. Just, I thought he was okay against the Baltimore Ravens. The Jets didn't score a ton of points, right? But I thought he played an okay game overall. I think we just kind of continue to see a steady bridge backup quarterback like stat line from him. Cousins, I don't think he's going to throw a ton, but he'll be relatively efficient. 17 of 27, 62.9 completion, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, an 83.9 rating. And as you could tell with my stat line prediction, I think this is the week. I think the Jets get their first interception of the season this week. I'm not going to say who it is. It's just, I feel like it's bold enough to say that the Jets are going to get their first interception of the season. It's remarkable that they've gone 11 games without an interception. This can't continue. They have to find a way to turn over opposing quarterbacks, and I think eventually they're going to get one this year, and this will be the week. All right, score predictions against the spread: 5-6 straight up picking. I am 7-4 picking these games straight up. The Jets are 2.5-point underdogs in this game, and I'm going to take the Jets getting the points as well as the Jets outright. I think they win this game at home against the Atlanta Falcons 20-17. Not a super exciting offensive output game for either team. But when you look at it, Atlanta's been struggling. They're 1-5 in their last 6. The Jets are 2-2 in their last 4 games. I think they are playing better football. And I know like the wins and losses, like they're not rattling off 5 straight wins, right? But, you know, they held their own for a decent amount against both the Ravens and the Patriots. And I think when you look at this Atlanta team, you know, dome team coming outside, playing in the cold in the Meadowlands and, you know, late November into early December, this could be one of those ugly, low-scoring games. And, you know, looking at the Jets' schedule over their next 4, I know that, you know, there's a portion of the fan base that is just like, let's see losses, let's get the draft pick. I don't have any gripes with you if that's what you're rooting for. At the same time, if you want to see what this coaching staff is made of and see wins, I don't blame you for that either. I really don't. I'm just saying, you know, honest prediction wise, I don't think the Jets are going to lose out. And I think this is one of their winnable games. They have a few coming up over the next month. I think, you know, closing the season against New England and Buffalo, don't really love their chances in either of those 2 games. And we'll get there, right? That's further down the line. But over the next 4 with games against Atlanta at home, Miami at home, at Jacksonville, and at New Orleans, I think they're going to have a couple wins over their next 4, and this to me seems like one of those opportunities. So I'll take the Jets 20-17. Let me know your thoughts. Give me the score prediction down below in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.